Hey, howdy friends, what's up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Ches, Daf 8 of Masechta Moed Katan. Friends, in the first part of the Daf, we continue just a little slightly talking about wrapping up the Tzaras stuff from yesterday. Nothing too crazy. Then we get into like assorted Mishnayos, things related to like graves and burying people and mourning a little bit. And then we talk about getting married and stuff on Chol Moed. Can you do that? So, well, that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Interesting stuff, if you ask me. All right, so we're in Daf Ches Amud Aleph, about 7 lines into the page. Omar Mar, we said earlier, Yesh Yom She'ata Roya Bo v'Yesh Yom She'ata Roya Bo. That was Givaldik, right? We had a pasuk that says of Yom Hiro's Bo, that on the day that it is shown, and we say there are days that you show the kohen, but there are days that you can actually not show the kohen, and then as long as you don't show it, so then it hasn't been determined, confirmed as tzaras, so then you can go about pretending like assuming that you don't have tzaras. Amar, we said earlier, Yeshom She'ata Robo, Yeshom She'ata Robo. So there are certain days when you have to get the tzaras checked by the kohen. There are other days when you don't. My mashma. Right, and we said, like, what's an example of when you don't? For example, if you're a chosin, if you're a groom, so for the 7 days, the 7 celebratory days following the chasana, so you wouldn't, if all of a sudden you notice some irregular skin condition, so you don't need to show it to the kohen until after Sheva brachas are over. Now, my mashma, how do we learn from that pasuk that it means that there are some days when you show it and some days that you don't? Omer Abai says, Abai, imken lichtov rachmana biyom, my uviyom, shmamina yeshom she'ata roa bo, v'yeshom she'ata roa bo. Abaye is very perceptive, and he notices that, well, the pasuk could have said biyom heros, but what's the extra vav? Uviyom heros. So says Abai, let's read that again. Imken lichtov rachmana biyom, my uviyom. What do we learn out from the extra vav of uviyom? Shmamina. What we learn out from the extra vav is that yesh yom she'ata roa bo, that there are some days when you show it, that the kohen looks at it. V'yesh yom she'ata roa bo, there are some days that the kohen does not look at it. Rava Amar says, Rava kula kra yiseru. Rava says it's not just an extra vav, it's an entirely extra word. To imkein lichtov rachmana uvehiraos. Just drop that word entirely. Just say, and when it is shown to the kohen, so then assuming that it's tamei, the fellow will become tamei. My uviyom, what's this extra uviyom word? Shmamina yeshom she'ata roa bo, v'yeshom she'ata roa bo. Says Rava, we learn from the extra word uviyom that there are days that you show it to the kohen and days that you don't. Abaye, and says Abaye, he says no, the word, only the vav is extra. We need the rest of the word. Haomi ba'ilei biyom v'lo balayla. The word uviyom, or kilu from biyom, we learn out that you show it to the kohen during the day, not at night. And then from the vav, we learn out that there are certain days when we don't show it. Then how does Rava learn out that we show tzaras specifically during the day, not at night? So nafkale milchomar eni kohen. Now the pasuk says that the kohen has to be able to see the tzaras. So memela, when do you see things? You see things during the day. So Abaye, whereas Abaye says, no, you can't learn out that you have to show the tzaras during the day from that pasuk, because that pasuk, from the fact that it says the chomari einei kohen, to the eyes, plural, of the kohen, it means that the kohen has to be able to see with both of his eyes. And if he's blind in one eye, then he should do other things. He can't observe, diagnose tzaras. Rava nami miboile lohachi. So now, 1 second, isn't Rava also going to need to use this pasuk to exclude a kohen who's blind in one eye? Enachinami, yeah. So if Rava learns out from that pasuk that a kohen who's blind in one eye is unable to diagnose tzaras, so then where's Rava going to learn that you only show tzaras during the day and not at night? So nafkale mi kanega nirali babois. That when the pasuk says that affliction was seen li, to me, in the house, li v'lo la'ori. It has to be to me and not to my light, right? If it's at night, so then you're gonna have to use like a flashlight in order to see it, right? And we're saying li, it has to be to me. That when the fellow goes to the kohen and he says, "Hey, kanega nira li baboyis," that it was seen. The fellow is saying that he, saw the tsaras without the use of like a flashlight or something like that. He just saw it directly himself, and therefore, and then that's when the kohen comes, and all this mimela is happening during the day. Because if it was at night, you'd have to use some kind of a flashlight or something. So velo la'ori, not to my flashlight. So therefore, Mimele, says Rava, from there, that is how we learn out that tsaras has to be diagnosed during the day. Abai says if we learn it from there, Havamina, I would think Hanimile Tumo Dilav de Gufe. So I might think that is specifically by like tsaras of the house, which is what the pasuk is talking about, right? Kanega nirli babois, that Yitaka sees a spot of tsaras on the house. So I might think that specifically, house tumah needs to be diagnosed during the day. Aval tumah de gufe, I feel the nami, right? I might think that, but for body tsaras of the body, maybe you would be allowed to use a flashlight. You could do it at night. So kamash malon, that is why it says Abai, we need uviyom heroes bo to say that also when it comes to tsaras of the body, it has to be during the day. Very interesting stuff. And with that, we wrap up our discussion of tsaras. Moving on, V'od Omer Reb Meir, and Reb Meir says, Malakid Adam, says the Mishnah, Malakid Adam atzmos ove v'imo mipnei shesimcha hilo. Interesting. So says Reb Meir that on Chol Moed a fellow can, I guess if he wants to transfer, his parents are buried in one place and he wants to transfer them to bury them somewhere else, you would be allowed to gather the bones and transfer them to another location, because he's happy to be able to transport his parents to the proper place. So therefore, it's happiness, and it's in line with what he should, with the happiness he should be experiencing on Chol Moed. Rabbi Yossi Omer, whereas Rabbi Yossi says, Eivel hulo, no, it's actually mourning for him. It's sad for him, and therefore he should. Therefore, don't do it on Chol Moed because it's sad. And a fellow should not. So for the 30 days prior to the festival, a fellow should not have. I don't know. Apparently, you would hire people to go and get people sad and go around and tell people hey, this fellow just died. Be sad. And also there shouldn't be eulogies and stuff like that for 30 days prior to the festival. Alright? And that's the Mishnah. It says the Gemara, V'aminu. 1 second. We have a contradiction. Amalakit atzmus ove v'imo. Hareze misabel aleim. Kol hayom. V'la'erev ein misabel aleim. That a fellow who gathers together the bones of his father and his mother, Hareze misabel aleim, he mourns upon them. Kol hayom. All day. V'la'erev, in that night, ein misabel aleim, he does not mourn upon them. So we see that Taka, when you collect and transfer the bones of one's parents, so then it's very sad. In which case, how could Reb Meir say that it's a simcha, that he's happy? Apparently, it sounds like he's very sad about it. Amar Rav Chizda says of Chizda, even if the bones are wrapped in some kind of a cloth and you don't actually have see the bones. But still, it's a sad thing. So says Abai, you have to understand Reb Meir as saying that no, because there's so much happiness of the festival. He has simchas haregel. He's enjoying himself and he's in a very happy mode because of the festival. So therefore, that kind of overpowers and overrides any sadness that he would be experiencing for collecting the bones of his parents and moving them somewhere else, and therefore it doesn't interfere with the happiness of the festival, and it would be permitted to do so according to Meir. We say that you shouldn't kind of hire somebody to kind of go around getting people sad because of the death. Milo ya'ir al meso. What does it mean? You shouldn't go around and get people to be sad. So Omer Rav, says Rav, Kad Hodor Savdana b'Mayrova Amr Yivkun Ime Kol Murei Liba. So says Rav that when there would be a eulogizer in Eretz Yisrael, so they would say, go and cry with this fellow, all of ye broken-hearted people. I guess that would make a whole scene and people would be sad. I don't know. Okay, the guy would make people sad because it's a sad situation. What do you want me to tell you? So you would hire some fella who would go around and say, everybody cry with Yankel because somebody passed away. And everybody would cry and everyone was just crying. So for 30 days prior to the festival, so what's so special about 30 days? Right? We're saying for 30 days you shouldn't do any of these eulogies prior to the festival. So Omer of Kahana, Omer of Yehuda, Omer Rab, that there was once an incident with a certain fellow, Shakinis Mos Lalas L'Regel, that he had saved up money so that he could afford to travel to Yerushalayim for the festival. Uvasavdun va'amir al Pesach Beiso, unitolasan Ishto, unisonasan Lo. And then so he had collected all this money, and then one of these eulogizer fellows, he came to the door, and the fellow's wife gave the eulogizer fellow all of the money. Here in Eretz Yisrael, they have these guys. They kind of, I think the other day we were interrupted in Babylon Talmud by one of the cars that they drive around with the microphone, and they like make sure everybody in the community knows when somebody dies. Maybe she was just paying him to shut up. Weiter. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that wasn't nice, but those microphones are very loud, and yeah, it's a whole situation. Anyway, so this fellow was saving up money, and then his wife just gave all the money to the eulogizer fellow, and v'nimna v'lo Allah. And he wasn't able to make the pilgrimage to Jerusalem because the money that he had saved up was given to the eulogizer. They said at that time, we then called him that don't get the eulogizers involved for 30 days prior to the festival, to avoid a repeat of what happened where this guy's wife basically take all the money that he was saving up for the pilgrimage to Jerusalem and gave it to this eulogizing fellow. Ushmuel Amar, where Shmuel says, Shmuel says that, well, because of the principle, because of the concept that when somebody passes away, so for the first 30 days it's very stark, it's very sad, and therefore if you have these eulogizers who are getting people sad within 30 days of the festival, so on the festival they're still going to be sad. So we don't want that to happen. So therefore, we don't do any of these like eulogizing exercises for 30 days before the festival. My benayu, what's the nafkamina between Rav, who says it's based on the story, and Shmuel, who says it's because of the 30 days? So benayu dekavid bechinam. The nafkamina is if the eulogizer eulogizes for free. So if the eulogizer eulogizes for free, so then Rav's situation where you're concerned about giving the money to the eulogizer, I guess, so it's not talking about money so it'll quiet down, because then that wouldn't matter. No, I guess paying him a fee for eulogizing. So if the guy does it for free, so then Rav's concern is irrelevant about, somebody will just spend all their money on the eulogizer. Whereas Shmuel, it's still relevant, which is, that, well, if it's within 30 days of the festival, then on the festival you're still going to be sad. Friends, moving on to the second mission of the day. In Chofrin Kuchen Uchvaros Bamoed. So they don't dig, catacombs or something? They would like dig into stone, like places where you would like put the body. So you don't dig those on Chol Moed. As well as kvaros, you would like build them. You would, I guess they were like above ground or something. Alright, fine. But you can be mechanchen. The Gemara is going to explain what mechanchen is. You can do mechanchen to the kuchen on the moed. Okay. You could make a wash pond on chol moed. Alright, for washing laundry, I guess. Ve'arun imamez b'chatzor. If you have a courtyard, and in the courtyard there is a dead body, so you're allowed to construct a casket. If like the body's there, because it's clear that you're constructing the casket for the body. Yehuda oser elim ken yesh imo nesarim. Yehuda says you can only construct the casket if you already have like the boards ready to go, and you just need to kind of construct them. But if you have to start sawing wood to make boards, so then you wouldn't do that on Chol HaMoed. Says the Gemara, my kuchen or my kvaros. What's a kuch? What's a kvara? What's the difference between these crypts? I don't know, catacombs. Umay kvaros, and what's like a kever? So Amar reviewed the kuchen b'chafir kvaros b'binyan. So a kuchen is you like etch it out of stone, right? Like etch into the stone, like a place where you put the body. And kvaros are you would build them above ground, I guess. All right. Tanan Amiyachu, we talk a little in a brisa like this. Elu in kuchen ve'elu in kvaros. Kuchen b'chafir kvaros b'binyan. There you go. That you sort of like you excavate a crypt and you build above ground a kever. All right. Aval mechanchen is a kuchen. You're allowed to be mechanchen the kuchen. So how do you be mechanchen a kuchen? How do you be mechanchen a kuchen? So Amr Rav Yehuda says Rav Yehuda shemaya aroch mikatzu. Well, if it was a long kuchen, so you can make it a shorter kuchen. We learn in the brayso you can elongate it if you need to. You can make it wider. So I guess kind of like making amendments to an existing kuchen. V'osin nivreches chule, you can make a wash pond on Chol HaMoed. My nivreches, what's a wash pond? Amavura zo bekia. Says Avura it's a bekia. I don't know, a wash pond. What do you want me to tell you? Ve'hatanya nivreches ve'abekia. We have a brayso that says the nivreches and the bekia, which means that nivreches is a separate thing than a bekia. Abai v'temu of kahana gia ve'uvar gia. Says Abai some say of kahana that we're talking about a pond and a secondary pond. Okay, what do you want me to tell you? You could build a casket if the body is in the courtyard. Tanina la dutanu rabbanon. So here we seem to have a mishnah for that which the rabbis taught. Osin kol tzorke ames. You could do all the needs for a dead body. Gozes in lo sairo. You can shave the hair. I guess that's what you do. Mechabsin lo ksuso, and you wash his clothing. Vosin lo arun. You can make him a casket. Minisarin haminusarin me'erev yom tiv, from boards that have already been prepared from before Yom Tov. And says of Rishon Gamliel that you can even bring wood and make them sort of quietly in your house on Chol HaMoed if you need to sort of make if you don't have wood from in advance. So says of Shimon Gamliel, you can even prepare them quietly in your house, inside your house on Chol HaMoed. And now we get to the third and final Mishnah of today's daf. Einosin noshim b'moed lo b'sulis v'lo amanos, that we do not marry women on Chol HaMoed, whether they have not yet been married, whether they are widows. V'lo miyabmin, and we also don't do yibum. If you have a fellow, he's married, he passes away, doesn't have any children, so then the brother marries the sister-in-law. So we don't do that either. Because it is very festive. It's happiness for him. And the Gemara is going to explain, isn't that a good thing? Don't we want you to be happy? Okay. We'll have to see. But you can, if you were already married, right? Reuven was married to Rachel. Then they got divorced, and then they decided to get remarried, to each other. So you could do that on Chol HaMoed. V'osa isha tachshitea b'moed. A woman could put on her jewelry on the festival on Chol HaMoed. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Rabbi Yehuda lo tison mipnei shenivel hula. Right? She shouldn't, I guess, apply lime or something to her skin, like to remove hair. I guess somehow that's not good. Therefore don't do that on Chol HaMoed. Nivel hula, I guess, I don't know. It makes her not presentable for a certain amount of time, I guess. A sort of regular fellow is able to sew on Chol Moed. Va'uman machliv. If you have a professional sewer though, so he can't sew normally, he's got to do irregular stitches. Masagin is amitos, and you interlace beds. All right, I guess like I don't know. They would have like their beds that would be like woven somehow, like with like reeds and stuff. So you can do that. Rabbi Yossi says you can tighten a bed. All right. Says the Gemara, "V'chisimcha hilo my habe." So the Gemara wants to know. We said that you can't get married on Chol Moed because it'll make you happy. Isn't that a good thing? Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, says Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel. V'chein Amar Rabbi Elazar Amar Rabbi Elshai v'Amri Amar Rabbi Elazar Amar Rabbi Chanina lefishay mar ben simcha b'simcha. Friends, have you ever heard that before? That you don't mix two different types of simchas, two different types of happiness. That if it's a Yom Tiv today, be happy because it's a Yom Tiv. Reserve the happiness for the wedding for another time. Right? Don't kind of have two competing happinesses. Rabbi Bar Huna Amar Mepnei Shomaniach Simchas Haregel v'Osek b'Simchas Ishto. Rabbi Bar Huna says we don't want you to get married on Chol Moed because you're going to ignore the happiness of the festival, and instead you're going to be focusing only on the happiness of your wife. Omar le'abai le'Rav Yosef, says Abai to Rav Yosef, hadrabba bar Rav Huna diravu, says Abai to Rav Yosef, that which Rabbi bar Rav Huna just said, it's actually Rav said it. To Amar Rav Daniel bar Katina Amar Rav, minayin she'nosin nosin b'moed. How do we know that you do not marry women, get married on Chol Moed? Shneimar, as the pasuk says, v'samachta b'chagecha, that you should be happy on your festival. B'chagecha, you should be happy and be sort of involved entirely with the festival, not with your wife. Okay, meaning don't get married on the festival. Ula says, well, because it's a lot of work to make a chasana, and therefore, we don't want you to have that stress on the festival. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha Amar Mipnei Bittul Piri V'Rivya. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha says because a Bittul Piri V'Rivya. What does that mean? It means that if you can get married on the festival, so everyone's going to kind of wait for until the festival to get married, because you can feed two birds with one seed. That it's the festival, you already have to make all sorts of sudas, and while you're gonna so you may as well, if you're already making a suda for the festival, you may as well chaparain and use that suda for the chasana as well. And what's going to happen is people are gonna, so let's say it's, I don't know, right now it's right now we're like in what month are we in? Shvat. So, and now it's a leap year this year. So imagine if you would wait to get married until Pesach, you're kind of waiting 3 months, and during 3 months you could already get married and conceive a child. So Rabbi Yitzchak says we don't want you to push off until the festival and kind of delay making babies. All right. Meisve kol elu sha'amru asurin lisa b'moed mutarin lisa ever regel. So now 1 second. We have a kasha that when we say that you're not allowed to get married on Chol Moed, you're allowed to get married erev regel. You're allowed to get married on the eve of the festival. It's not kasha l'chulu. So it's a kasha on basically all of them, because after all, and Eimar b'simcha, right? If we don't, we don't want you to, intertwine different happinesses, because after all, you can be happy for 7 days, which is going to interfere with the festival, and we don't want you to be sort of involved with your new wife instead of the festival. Kilu, all of these things that apply on the festival are basically the same if it's the day before the festival as well. Shouldn't we be concerned that it's going to interfere? So, lo kasha, it's no problem. Lemanda Omar mishum simcha ikar simcha chad yomo. So, according to the opinion that we don't want you mixing two different types of happinesses, well, the main happiness is the day of the chasana. If the day of the chasana is the day before the festival, so then that's fine. On the festival, it's not quite the same as the day of the chasana. and also according to the opinion who's concerned about that maybe it's going to be too much stress and work to make the chasana. Well, that's really just at the chasana, right? The following days is not as much. And according to the opinion that we don't want you to sort of wait until the festival to get married, so you're not going to kind of wait. And, if you only have like a 1 day window, like a very specific day, you have to do it on the day before. But if you miss that day, if something happens and you can't get married until after the festival, it's a little bit too finicky. People aren't going to kind of, we're not concerned that if you can get married on the eve of the festival, people are going to wait until Davka, the eve of the festival, because it's, kind of cutting it close. And we're not concerned that people are going to be Muvatal Piri Verivia and delay the chasana so that they could Davka have it on the eve of the festival. So that kind of also is not a concern. All right, well, that was Daf Ches, Daf 8 of Masechta Moed Katan. So the first part of the Daf, we kind of just analyzed a little bit about how we know that there are certain days that you show the coin, certain days that you don't. Abaye learns it out from the extra vav, uviyom heroes bo anega, and Rava says no, actually the entire word is extra. Okay, just a different way that they learn out that drasha. Then we got to a new Mishnah where we saw machlokes between Rav Meir and Rav Yossi about can you sort of transport one's parents' bones to a different place to be buried. Rav Meir says yes, because it is it's a happiness for him, although the Gemara kind of amended that to mean that because there's so much happiness on the festival, so therefore that would kind of override any sadness he may be experiencing, and therefore it's okay on the festival. Rav Yossi says that no, it's sad for him, it's too sad, and therefore we don't want you to be sad on the festival. We also said that for 30 days prior to the festival, so these eulogizers would not go around eulogizing. We saw machlokas between Rav and Shmuel about how come. So Rav says, well, because there was once a story where a fellow saved up money for the pilgrimage to Jerusalem, and then his wife gave all the money to the eulogizer. So to avoid that, we say for 30 days prior to the festival, there's no eulogizing. Shmuel says it's because it takes for 30 days. A person who passes away is sort of very strongly felt for 30 days, and therefore, if the eulogizer is going to make everybody deeply feeling the fellow who passed away, so then if it's within 30 days, so they'll still be sort of sad on the festival, and we don't want that. So Shmuel says that is why for 30 days prior to the festival we do not have the eulogizers. Okay, then we talked about sort of creating graves and stuff, right? We said that, right, that we don't dig quarry like stone for graves, and we don't build graves. And we said that if you're in a courtyard, so we saw machlokas essentially between Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and Rabbi Yehuda about can you construct a casket if you have the dead body in the courtyard. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says yes, you can even sort of, if you need to, you can even prepare the wood sort of quietly to prepare the casket. And Rabbi Yehuda says you can only prepare the casket if you have prepared the wood in advance. Then we saw that you do not get married on Chol HaMoed. We saw a few reasons for why this is so. One reason is in Ma'arvin Simcha B'Simcha, that we don't want you to mix two different sort of competing types of happinesses, rather keep them separate. And we also saw the opinion that, well, we don't want you to be too focused on the happiness of your wife. We want you to also experience the happiness of the festival. We also saw that because there's a lot of work that goes into preparing a chasana, we don't want you to be so overworked on the festival. And finally, because a bitul peri v'rivya, that we do not want you to delay your wedding and to delay having children, to wait for the festival. So rather, we say just forget about the festival, just get married now. Friends, that was Daf Ches of Masechta Moed Katan. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.